balanced by that same amount of money.
Mr. Castillo?
Thank you, sir. I've been noticing everybody's promotional cost line item is up. Animal control, what are you doing with this line item here?
The promotion line item was something that civil service put in place a few years ago. It's an apprenticeship program for those employees that are animal caretakers or ACOs. Once they've been there in the first year, they can get a promotion once they become CAET certified to perform euthanasias. Something civil service came up with years ago in the previous administration, and it was really needed because we have trouble keeping a lot of those employees because their entry level is so low. One of the reasons it's so high this upcoming year is on the caretaker side. We've had 5 of the 6 caretakers resign or quit in the last 8-10 months. So that kicks up the promotion. Your salaries will actually go down somewhat because the new people start at less than the old ones were making, but the promotion cost kicks in once they get certified. All these promotions are strictly related to euthanasia certification, nothing else.
Salaries didn't go down very much, 0.34%.
And I'm not sure if the salaries are budgeted at what the people that were in the budget at the beginning of the fiscal year or not. But I know the 5 people I've hired in the last 8-10 months are making substantially less than the people they've replaced.
If the position is vacant, when we do our pool, we budget it at midpoint, not, I'm sorry, these are apprenticeships, so he did budget them at minimum. So that would account for the increase in the promotional line item.
Okay. So apparently all our departments are doing this.
There's a lot of departments that have apprenticeship programs
some
under
that
the
aren't.
new civil service
And
director.
some aren't participating, correct?
No.
And on the salary side also, Ms. Castillo, y'all also had added a new position about 4 or 5 meetings ago, to another position for us. So we have one more person than we had at the beginning of the fiscal year.
Okay. I think I'm gonna dig a little bit deeper into all this promotional costs and all these departments because it seems to me that it's an easier way to give somebody an increase without a general increase across the board. So I need to have some more conversation on this. That's it, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Well, I can tell you, I'm glad you're going to look into it because I have a similar concern in reviewing some of the charts and just the apprenticeship program. And I'm going to get with the administration for their appreciation, but the council needs to know that the apprenticeship, and this is after speaking with the civil service director, if a department director or division heads aren't very aggressive with this, they miss out. And when we talk about we not giving raises, and there was a gentleman came to our introductory meeting, and when we talk about we not giving raises, that may be accurate as it relates to across the board. But with these promotional costs and getting certified and getting a license and being there so long and doing such a good job, and I think too much of it is too heavily dependent upon their immediate supervisor, which again makes it very subjective in nature if you don't have a certain relationship at times. But there's a lot of money being spent on these promotional cost issues. Some people take advantage of them, some don't. I'm not comfortable with the consistency that it offers across the board because it makes it very difficult when other employees recognize this and they're not included. And just to go back to the LUS budget, when they were asked about the register people and the people who collect the money, you know, they say they're working on it, but that there's a lot of people who's getting it. And it always seems like the people at the bottom is being worked on and everybody else is getting it. But I would love to assist you in looking into some of that before this budget process is over. Because here it is again, and actually we just passed some laws that actually should minimize the amount of work at the shelter, huh? Eventually, if everything goes according to plan, it's gonna be less work going on.
There'll be a lot
there.
less euthanasia. There'll be a lot more trips of animals, because when they come in, then we'll bring them to be spay neutered and then to return. So it's actually gonna increase the amount of time to do it, but it's certainly gonna decrease our euthanasia, time, for sure.
Contracting, spay and neuter, or are we doing that in-house with our veterinarian?
We currently do it in-house with our veterinarian. We have a contract vet that's been there for a number of years, is how we currently do it.
Mr. Lewis,
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At the beginning of this right here, we talked of the animal control. We talked about, I think, Laura, you said we are planning on hiring an additional person at the beginning.
Y'all just y'all just allocated an additional employee about 3 meetings ago.
Okay, well, this will offset the temporary employees and the overtime?
We also, yes, well, we are going to decrease our overtime because I recently got rid of all the horses that we had at our horse place, which is adjacent to the, on Indugar Road by the compost facility. I got the North Texas Rescue to come in and rescue all 10 horses that we've been having there for quite some time. One of them was 27 years old. They've all been rescued, so we don't have to spend the overtime to have someone go there every single day, 365 days a year to check on them and feed them. So we've got rid of that, and that's definitely going to save us some money for sure.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm clear. So just one employee for this budget, not 2?
That is correct.
Just 1? Okay, thank you.
okay, 133.
Did we take up his general amendment on the revenues?
About to do it as we speak.
Thank you.
134, the document has been presented, an amendment is being asked for. There are a number of line items affected. It's been detailed by finance. If someone has reviewed it and found comfort in it, I will welcome your move. Yeah. Amendment is being offered by Councilman Castile, identified as amendment number 2 of Animal Control Shelter. Any objections? There is none. That's going to go forward as a general amendment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Page 270, Capital. $89,000. Page 298, Manning Table. All right, seeing no comments from members or requests. Any green cards? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you all very much.
Next, we're going to move to library.
The library is funded by dedicated ad valorem or property tax millages. It's funded 100% by those millages. Their budget is estimated to increase about 5.3%. They also have an increase in their personnel strength and their manning tables of 16 positions. I believe that's primarily related to the opening of a new branch and perhaps a bookmobile service. Teresa can provide more information on that.
Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you. Just have a few comments before we get started. The library, again, like Lori said, is funded with 3 ad valorem taxes. They currently are levied at 6 mills. In the proposed budget, those taxes account for 95% of our total revenue. These are parish millages paid on property within the municipalities and in the unincorporated areas of the parish. The funds are used for operating, maintaining, staffing, equipping, constructing, improving, repairing the public libraries within the parish. We are expected to use just under $3 million from our fund balance to supplement our revenue stream in order to fund the current capital projects that we have in the budget. We do not receive any city or parish general funds at this time. We do not receive any sales tax dollars. We do not receive funds from the state of Louisiana except for our portion of revenue sharing. We receive no direct federal funds, but we do get deeply discounted rates for high-speed internet, and federal funds come through the state library through the IMLS funds that pay for shared databases and like the services to the blind and physically handicapped through the state. The proposed budget reflects the annual operating cost of our own facilities, which now are the main library, the North Regional Library, the South Regional Library, the East Regional Library, and the 5 smaller non-owned facilities, which right now are Doosan, Scott, Milton, Chenier, and the Butler Center. And we also lease a warehouse. In the last year, budget year, we had 2,700 people visit one of our libraries each day. They checked out and renewed 4,500 items every day and logged 1,400 library computer sessions. 400 people a day used our free Wi-Fi with their own laptops, tablets, or smartphones, and an average of 150 people a day, every calendar day, attended a library program of some sort. We were opened, our facilities, our regional facilities are open 354 days a week, Saturdays and Sundays and evening hours.
A week? Y'all good.
No, okay, a year. The 4 libraries with study rooms and meeting rooms saw the meeting rooms used over 3,000 times by library patrons booking the rooms, and study rooms were used more than 2,400 times, so they're getting some heavy use. Our virtual library continues to grow. Our ebooks and e-audiobooks are now 10% of our circulation. We've increased our database licensing budget. We did that last year and again this year, just to meet the demands for more ebook titles and copies. Half of our databases that we offer are partially funded through the state, but at any time that federal funding and matching funds from the state could go away. So we have to budget almost 100% if we want to keep doing those databases. If that funding is lost mid-year, and their budget year begins in July. So far, so good. We've got those databases for the next 12 months. And we also continue to add new databases in technology and science as we increase our services for those areas. Those services are all available 24/7 because they're online. And wherever you're at, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be at your house. You can be on vacation to get to all that stuff. Our construction, as many of you know, started July 27th. Our construction contract for West started. That's the West Regional Library in Scott. We expect West Regional to be completed sometime the fall of 2017 and hope to have it open to the public before the start of 2019. Keep our fingers crossed. Most of the 17-18 budgeted increase in operational costs are associated with this building, and we'll probably be in possession of that building somewhere before the end of the fiscal year ending. So we'll have to start paying for electricity and that kind of thing. This is a $5.3 million construction project, but the majority of that funds, it was a total $8 million project, and most of those funds are still in our fund balance. They've not actually been spent yet. Plans are for the current Scott location to close once we open the West Regional, and the 2 positions that we have at the Scott Library now will be reassigned to the West Regional Library. The Doosan Branch Library and the Doosan Community Center will stay open. We added several large capital projects to this budget. We added $300,000 to add a new bookmobile. We've been without bookmobile service in this parish for 20 years, and I thought we should start it again. This is a growing trend of putting bookmobiles back into the communities to serve areas, neighborhoods that might not have the transportation to get to a main library, even though we're within 3 miles of most parish residents, a vending facility. And we hope it won't cost that much, but that will allow us to buy a brand-new custom bookmobile and get it back into promoting and expanding our services throughout the parish. We also put $4 million in for a South Regional expansion project. The South Regional Library is the second biggest library in our system, but it's also the busiest, just because of the neighborhoods that use that facility. We need more space. It's 9 years old, and it was built to expand to 10,000 square feet. We couldn't quite get that expansion, but we are expanding to 7,500 square feet. We're taking the backside off of it. We're going to add meeting rooms, more study rooms, more space for teen and adult services, and another workroom, but mostly meeting room space. Let's see. And our budget also has 18 full-time positions. It's a net to our manning tables of 16 because we're eliminating 2. Right now, there's 2 vacant part-time positions that we're taking out of the budget. So we've got a total gain of 16 positions. 12 of those will be assigned to the West Regional Library. We're using the same staffing model that we do for East. And then 4 of them will be used to start the new bookmobile outreach service. And then 2 are librarians that we're using at the main library for collection development specialist and a children's librarian to help with our demand and children's services. So this budget reflects our best estimate for funding next year. The West Regional Library and the new bookmobile service will not have a dramatic increase on this budget, but will have for 18-19. That's where we go 100% operational on those services. Construction dates move. Like I said, we hope to have it open the end of 18, early 19. And a bookmobile, right now they say they custom build bookmobiles. It's a 9-month build out on a bookmobile, so we wouldn't even have that on the road till next fall. And that's it. Thank you.
Any update on the research and possible building of anything in the northeast corridor of the parish?
The library board is starting to look at millages, our fund balance, our expansion projects, because we do want to expand. I mean, the South isn't the only one that's out of space. We originally planned these buildings at 10 to 12,000 square feet. We've managed to build bigger, but the services we've needed, I mean, that was a plan from 2002. And of course, a lot's changed in this parish. The original plan back in 2002 was for 5 libraries, and they had to scale it down to 4. So they're going to be looking at places. That was my idea, to get a bookmobile out on the route to see where our gaps in service might be, and kind of going to take it from there, see where we need to be and see what patrons are saying. I mean, people are saying about where they need service. So we're going to be looking at that as part of our fund balance, what we're doing with our fund balance in the next 10 to 15 years.
What about this year? As far as, so for the last 2 or 3 years, we've kind of talked about that. Mm-hmm. And we talked about, as it relates to this mileage demographic, about the close proximity. And we talked about the literacy rate in particular areas. We talked about the corridors and throughways and the navigation to get to our facilities and transportation, the rail, and all of those things that divide communities. So respectfully, I wasn't talking about a 15-year plan. I was looking at a more immediate plan. As we have talked about, I see, for instance, this year we're talking about expanding South Regional because of its usage and capacity in the neighborhoods. The neighborhood I'm talking about don't have anything. Right. So I was looking for something more current and much sooner. in nature, as far as giving some more individuals an opportunity to have access to a good quality, highly technological facility.
Right. Well, last year, we put some of that money, was in our operating budget and capital budget. It's still there. We've got money to perhaps build satellite facilities, and I think you and I talked about
Right,
that.
right. And
That
that's
money's
what I'm
still
looking
there.
at.
Yeah, that money's still there. It's still budgeted in our operating because we want to take advantage of. We find something that we can use, then we want to take advantage of it. We're also working with the Macomb-McVeasy neighborhood. They've got a adjudicated property that they're redoing, and we plan to move some services into that facility once they know, after they've finished with their build out and they want to decide what they want. So we're trying to take advantage of those things that we can do in the community, and the money's there for us to do that. We've got computer money, rent money still in the budget to take advantage of that.
How can we move it along? And not so much like the Macomb-McVeasy house satellite type. I'm talking about something on a grander scale. We talked about properties like Holy Rosary and approaching them and either doing renovations at their facility, utilizing part of their structure, or doing new construction there, as well as other parcels in that. How can we move that along, but not talking about the like the residential units, something on a larger scale?
Well, I guess we just have to find out who we need to talk with. I mean, we're talking about it. We've got the money that's there that we can move around and take advantage of something if we know what we need. But right now, it's all pie in the sky, no concrete plans. And we're talking with members of the community, and, you know, we can have the discussion. But the board's actually looking at that. We've been looking at it for the last year, over a year. And that's why we didn't take that money out of the budget. It's there.
Well, if there's something that I could do to help, I certainly, I know we've had some initial conversations, and if something more is needed, or to talk specifically to, I guess, individuals who could make decisions as it relates to access to places or land, I would love to help with that, but I don't want to, I'm running out of time. This is my 10th budget. I got 2 left. And I don't know who's coming behind me, but libraries, I've always appreciated them and do great work. And I've saw the value of the Martin Luther King branch. I see the value of the Chenier branch. And I was hoping that we could do more of that. But like I've indicated, with this unique structure here in Lafayette and some of the restrictions that are in place just by the way we have developed, and I appreciate, you know, the funding opportunities, the available funding. I just don't want us to get caught in planning too long or talking too long. I would like to see how we could move on something.
Well, as you know, this is Lafayette Consolidated Government. It moves fast, but things take time. And, you know, our biggest problem on all of our facilities is property. And, you know, it's always a big battle to find property in a location and a building. And so that's what we're kind of on the hunt for. You know, you have to have a building that's in the right location. I mean, you might be able to find this building, but it's not where you need it. And so that's our biggest issue right now. That's why I wanted to get a bookmobile on the road so that we can start serving those areas that we think are maybe underserved, and get services of some sort out there and listen to what people want. So we've got the discussion started. I'd be happy to meet with you later and talk about any specifics and see how we can move forward on it. It'd be great.
Okay, yeah, let's do that, please.
Okay.
Ms. Cook?
I just have a question about the bookmobile program. I know that's not coming up right now, but what, do you have a projected cost of what that would be?
We put $300,000 in the budget. We talked to one company about the specifications, and he's guessing right around $260,000.
And that's for how many units, you said?
That's for one
just
bookmobile,
one.
like a 32-foot bookmobile. It's not as big as a great RV. It's, if you remember 20 years ago, the bookmobile that we used to have, it's about that same size. It's 32 feet, allows us 2 doors, an indoor, an outdoor, and a handicap lift for wheelchairs, for handicap patrons, or anybody in a walker can come up the lift instead of using the stairs that are in a bookmobile. And that's custom built. I mean, they're nicer looking vehicles than they used to be, for sure. And that's having everything you'd ever want in a bookmobile. And making it that size, we don't have to have a CDL driver, certified driver, to drive that.
Now, how many other communities are still utilizing bookmobiles?
A lot. Baton Rouge just took delivery of number 4 last week. They've been waiting for almost a year for their delivery of theirs. They have one that's all tech, it's all computers, it blows bubbles out the back. I mean, they've spent a lot of money on their bookmobiles. I just went to a nationwide conference, and bookmobiles are kind of making, it's kind of what, you know, everybody's kind of doing the old stuff again. It's actually a nationwide trend of putting bookmobiles back into communities. You can take them to the horse park or the Festival International. They can ride in the Mardi Gras parades, things that didn't happen before, and just changing the way we run a bookmobile. But they're still on the road, and the numbers are increasing, and here in Louisiana, they've increased. And the person that came and talked to me, he was actually writing specs for another parish that was going to take delivery, hopefully soon, of a bookmobile.
And one more question, the book depositories that are like in neighborhoods, I know that they have some set up here or there. I know we have one in our neighborhood, it's in someone's front yard and their books, is that through the library?
That's a
totally
that's
independent?
a little program called
And that's not,
No, it's
you're
not
not affiliated
related to
with
the
that at all?
library.
Okay. I'm just
We're
curious.
happy it promotes libraries, but it's free libraries is what they're called.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious if those were successful or not. I mean, how
I
many
think
there were around the city?
so. It's a nationwide, actually, it's a worldwide trend. And we partnered with UL students 2 years ago in the architecture department, designed a lot of those, and we worked with them to supply all the books that went into them. So, you know, we worked with that program.
I mean, if that's something, would you be could consider it in lieu of the bookmobiles? I mean, maybe you could put those around, you know, more and basically maybe
It's not
kind of
it's not
identify the
same.
areas. It's a different service,
Yeah.
yes, but
Yeah.
something, okay. All right, that's all. Thank you.
Mr. Nakam?
Yes, ma'am. Looking at the budget, it's roughly, I guess, around $12 million of operating expenses. Is that going to go up once the Scott Library is complete? Do you know about what your
Right.
expenses would go up
Yeah,
to?
we expect, well, some of those costs are in the budget already, but we expect West Regional to take $1.2 to $1.4 million to operate.
Okay. And the reason I'm getting at it is,
Our millage, you jumped on the question, our millage right now is adequate to fund that, but it's going to probably take every penny of our millage to operate, because when we have, I mean, that millage has been in place since 2002, but we haven't been operating all the libraries that it was planning on operating.
Exactly.
So next, in 18-19 will be the first year that we're actually fully operating on that.
and that's why I'm
millage.
asking, because
Yeah.
there's so many things going around. The one thing that I always try to keep in mind is before we talk about, you know, some people can say, wow, they got a real big reserve, but until you know the story and the facts about what is the operating cost every year to operate the libraries, plus you just added another 1.4. So I guess the thing I'm asking is, the thing that we're not thinking about with the weather and hurricanes and everything else and catastrophic, I mean, do we have repair cost if you had a hole in one of these roofs? I mean, worst case scenario, air conditioned units are going out. I mean, those are things, not right now, but maybe for wrap up, or if you can get the council, just some hard numbers on, in the event you need to replace a roof at one of the libraries or something.
It's already built into our capital budget. We put, I mean, part of that allows us to put $1 million back into capital every year for those roof repairs or catastrophic things that would happen. It's contents too, books, computers. I mean, we're self-insured, So, so far, we've been lucky and mostly had to use that for upkeep so that we don't lose a roof or have catastrophic damage to a building. But yeah, it's built into our budget. I mean, we look at that.
And after the library on the west side, the Scott Library is complete, is there other plans for more and more libraries? Or that's basically, once you're done with that, then we hunker down with operating and we utilize whatever we need for the mobile?
Right, that millage will allow us to operate. So to add any more will add to our operational cost, and we may not have the millage to do that. So
Okay.
we can't really expand. All we can do is, well, with the expansion project, like the $4 million for South, we already asked, will that increase our expenditures? And the architect that did our drawing said, no, you don't need any more staff to operate this additional 7,500 square feet. You've got a little bit, you've got air conditioning, but if you replace the unit with a more efficient unit, your electricity and cost, true operating cost won't go up. You put the books in there, they stay. So our operating costs are not expected to go up for any of the expansion projects that we do.
All right, thank you. That's all the questions I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, page 217. 217, library. $218. Page 254, five-year capital. Page 287, 2018 capital. Mr. Conk?
There's an allocation of $80,000 for the library park. Exactly what's involved in that and where will it be located?
We are collaborating with DDA and the Kiwanis Club of Acadiana to change a portion of the intersection of Congress Street and the Congress Street extension into a downtown, small downtown parking area, a park area for kids that would also serve as green space for the library. This capital expenditure was added to our capital budget by LCG administration, and I assume after talking with Jeff Dyer with DDA that this amount reflects the amount that was given to them by Public Works for phase 1 of this project. I think it includes roadbed removal, drainage improvements, and sidewalk improvements.
Thank you.
287, capital. Top of 288, library capital. Page 314, the manning tables for the library. Top of 315, completion of the manning tables. Any closing, Mr. Reese?
No, I just appreciate you letting me come before you and talk about this. And Mr. Castile, we do have promotional cost in our budget. You missed that. That is, we have, with all of our changes that we've made, some of our positions, we've had to add responsibilities, and we've had two that individuals that have been working probably a little bit outside their class. We had civil service re-audit those positions, and they did feel that those needed to be changed to the next level position. So there's promotional costs for two people to be changed to the next level. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any green cards? Thank you very much. Next, we're going to move to District Court. We'll be starting on page 123.
District Court is a parish mandate and is funded primarily by the Parish General Fund. There's 22 positions included in this budget. When comparing this proposed budget to the current year budget, you will see an increase of 13%. However, you should note that last year, because of the Parish General Fund situation, we did have to substantially cut this department. So while it is an increase, we are not at previous levels. We were at higher levels in prior years. And the title is on 123, so you might just want to skip over to 124.
Thank you. I saw that. Judge?
Nice to see y'all again. As Lori was saying, there's not a whole lot of change in our budget this year. It's pretty much status quo as it was last year, except for one appropriation. I think it's listed as external appropriation, 15th Judicial District Court. The amount is $254,000. We've been talking with Mr. Oates about a possible cooperative endeavor agreement where we can reach some possible compromise on the funding the law clerks. And I've prepared a little background information for you. I'll hand it out while Judge Blanchette would like to add anything he'd like to say.
Good afternoon. Just as a reminder to all of you, last year in the middle of fiscal year 15-16, you completely defunded the Lafayette Parish portion of our law clerks. Last year you paid $0 for law clerks. We believe these are reasonable and necessary expenses that the parish is mandated to pay. We have used our court funds to supplement so as not to have to incur any layoffs. We told you we would do this to give the parish an opportunity to reform its budget. To a certain extent, we are being funded this year by $254,000. Certainly, we appreciate the payment of that amount, although we believe it should be the full amount of $430,000. But we still have court funds that we can use to supplement, which is what we have done in the past. If we have to continue to do so, there will be a time when we will run out of court funds and will be incapable of doing that. For the time being, we can continue to supplement, but how long that will last, I can't tell you at this moment. But certainly it's better. $0 versus $254,000 against $430,000 is better than $0.
Thank you very much. Okay, members, we're on page 124. 124. There is no capital. The remaining table is on 296. Just below the top of the page, the court reporters and secretaries. Seem like no questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any green cards for this department? Okay, thank you. Next, we will move to District Attorney. We'll be on page 125. Ms. Toops?
The district attorney is also a parish mandate and is primarily funded from the parish general fund. In this proposed budget, their operating expenditures are expected to increase about 2.3%, and they do have a personnel strength change of a reduction of 2 positions.
Mr. Stutes?
Good afternoon. First of all, do any of you need a break? I thought that would be fair to ask. I want to tell you, I have for about 40 years promoted myself as the most ethical lawyer in Louisiana. Now I'm proud to say that I think I'm going to promote myself as the most reasonable and ethical lawyer / district attorney in the state of Louisiana. We have come a long way from a year and a half ago, and I really want to thank the entire staff, all of you, the finance department, and Steve Oates and his staff for really engaging in a conversation with me over the past 6 months about our budget, about our relationship, about the fact that we should be, all of us, operating in a spirit of mutual cooperation. We tried to be very reasonable. I, as is my habit, sent you a letter back in April, a rather lengthy letter which laid out completely the position that I've taken, I've been required to take. In that letter, I disclosed to you our entire budget here in the DA's office in Lafayette. All of our expenses, all of our revenue, all of our sources of revenue from the state, basically to be as open and as complete and transparent as possible. As I suggested to you in that letter, our budget basically boils down to, with all of the sources of funding we have, to be a budget necessary in order to operate the DA's office of about $2.8 million. In the context of that, the offer, or I think the proposal made by your finance department was much, much less. And as of the most recent proposal, it is much less. So there will be a deficit in our office. Now, our office has changed quite a bit over the past several years. Originally, the office had employees of 67 employees here in Lafayette, thereabouts. And over the past year, as a result of some actions that were taken by the council, actions that were also taken by me, that staff has reduced itself down to 46 or thereabouts on your manning table. And these are 46 employees that are paid through your payroll system. That is not the number of employees in the DA's office. That total number of 67 has reduced down now to 56. So there are 10 employees who are employees of the DA's office here in Lafayette, but are not on your manning tables. I have to tell you that as part of the plan, or part of the proposal I made to you, was that the fact that this has occurred has created 2 sets of employees. Employees that are paid by your payroll system and thereby covered by your insurance, and those additional employees that are co-employees with the DA's office but not provided with that insurance. Many of those employees were employees that were, quote, laid off. So I continued coverage, that insurance coverage they had previously with LCG, but through the COBRA program. There are 2 of those employees who were recent hires, and they are not on your insurance coverage. That really was part of the question I raised during the past 6 months, was how can this be alleviated, and how can insurance be provided for those employees, because frankly the COBRA payments are going to run out. I mean, the COBRA period will run out, and those employees will not have insurance. So as the product of the ongoing negotiation, I would call it, between the administration and myself, I think we've reached a cooperative endeavor, a proposed cooperative endeavor agreement, which will allow for, at the cost of the DA's office, it will not be additional cost to LCG, but at our cost, to actually provide all of the employees and to treat all of the employees equally. Now, what I guess the ultimate bottom line is, and that's what I suggested in my letter of April of this past year, and also more recently, after the budget came out, I again, took the position that I accept your budget, your proposed budget. Even though it is less than what I ultimately need, I accept it. And I will venture to make my budget work in the DA's office by continuing some reductions. As the total reduction of employees over the past year and a half or 2 years, we are down probably 11 positions. And that's simply to make it work in our office, and also to make it work for LCG, the parish government, our funding source. I might also say that another reason for my request for an external appropriation as opposed to a line item treatment, as all of the other departments have, is the fact that the mandate under 16.6 speaks in terms of the mandate to the parish to provide the expenses of the DA's office, salaries, expenses. But it uses the word allowance. It mandates an allowance be paid to the DA toward the DA's expenses, salaries, et cetera, et cetera. Asking for an appropriation rather than a line item of the same total accomplishes more, it is more in line with that mandate of an allowance. Secondly, it also provides, and I want to be diplomatic about this, but it provides you with less control over the internal workings of the DA's office. For the past year, I've undertaken a great project in trying to cut costs, reorganize the DA's office, and I have submitted at least 5 ordinances to the council, all of which you graciously adopted. But it required that step of going through the ordinance process. The whole thing took, in order to accomplish, 6 months. When I operate in my office and I make decisions about transfers and movement within my office, that decision should be carried out in a day. It shouldn't require the hoops that are necessitated by your budget protocol. I don't criticize that. I simply say that is somewhat of an impediment, and it isn't really, I think, in the expected language of the mandate statute itself. So, do you have any questions, by the way?
None yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I will tell you that, again, I accept the proposed budget. I accept your proposed budget in number. I only ask that the budget be amended to move all of the funding items from the itemized line items to the single lump sum external appropriation line item of the total of 2.563403. That would also involve amending the manning tables, adjusting the manning tables to eliminate all of those positions, the DA's positions and the DA himself. Now, we have labored, and I think reasonably, in arriving at and answering all the questions that were posed by insurance coverage for both life insurance and health insurance. We have, I believe, reached a final draft of a cooperative endeavor agreement whereby by that payment of that external appropriation in monthly installments, less the cost of those insurance premiums, would then be paid to the DA's office, and the DA would be responsible for all of his expenses. I think that's reasonable. I believe it's a very reasonable resolution of our issues, if we imagine that we do have issues. So I would ask for that amendment if you feel that it's reasonable and appropriate.
Okay. Steve, I see you.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just here on behalf of the City Parish Attorney's Office. Been working with the District Attorney's Office for a better part of this last year, working on a cooperative endeavor agreement that, with the input of a lot of people, I quite agree is in its final form. And it does provide a different approach than we've done in the past, and that is to give a single appropriation to the DA and broken down into monthly payments, less particular insurance premiums that, in working with Ms. Toop's office, are administered by her office. The cooperative endeavor agreement accomplishes ease of administration, which was what the DA wanted. But with regard to LCG, this idea of what's reasonable expenditures, the background of the prior lawsuit for the period of this cooperative endeavor agreement goes away. We're coming to it with a joint recommendation of the administration and the DA's office to approach it this way. It's a new model. It's only for 1 year, so we can see if it plays out to everybody's expectations. But if, when you reflect on the cooperative endeavor agreement, and because it would be required to be approved by the council simultaneous with the budget, we would recommend that in Fund 105, when you go to that next on 125, that whole area be collapsed into one. That $2,563,000, if I'm reading it right, is the figure that would be cut into 12 equal payments, less the money that Ms. Toop's office takes out every month for the actual insurance costs for the employees. So all the employees would be in one plan, and we've been able to get the plan administrators, the underwriters, to change a little, tweak their eligibility requirements so it would allow everybody to be covered.
So that you're suggesting these things, but that's once the cooperative endeavor agreement has been executed.
Both your finance department and legal are in agreement that you would do it simultaneously. If you don't approve the cooperative endeavor, we wouldn't recommend the changes. So it would be kind of hand in glove together.
So in the cooperative endeavor agreement, we've seen this language before when it's presented to you guys, where we'll have a phrase in the ordinance as presented that you allow me to make the technical budget amendment to bring that cooperative endeavor agreement in compliance with the budget. That way, should we have a snag, something happens, we still can pay people on November the 1st, but we're expected to complete this process before then. And when it is completed, effective November the 1st, I could do the technical budget revision, not exceeding that dollar amount. I'd be more comfortable doing it later. I heard a little bit something just now it was not what I originally understood. So I would want to make sure that all the numbers are in line and we don't mess up anybody's payroll.
When do you envision this council will see that agreement?
It's ready to come to you now. It's in about its 20th revision with your city parish attorney's office working through with your finance department. And again, the real benefit is, as well as with the judges, they're agreeing that any other costs are from their various funds that they have.
And I don't believe there's any prohibition from going ahead and accepting this agreement as it is and allowing me to do the technical budget revision November 1st.
You're talking about without us seeing it?
Right, because it's limited to, it'll be outlined in this cooperative endeavor agreement, the funding.
So you want us to approve something that we don't read or see? Is
Oh,
what
no,
you're
no,
saying?
no, 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 no. For me, just to move, to collapse all the numbers into one line item. I believe that in this cooperative endeavor agreement, in the ordinance that you approve, we can put the proper wording in there that I'm able to collapse those line items on November the 1st.
Right, post-adoption.
Yes, sir.
The cooperative endeavor still needs to go through the same protocols for the council. We also have one for the for the judge's office, where they've agreed to fund everything else from their judicial expense fund, the DA with the criminal court fund and other. So it takes away that uncertainty that we've had that past year where we ended up in court with the district attorney and at odds with the judges. It's more a cooperative coming in and trying this for 1 year. Hopefully it ends up being a model that you can continue forward. I would also, one of the real important things that the administration has emphasized is fairness between the three parishes, because with the 15th Judicial District, the DA and the judges are also funded by the three parishes. With the exception of the court reporters, there's no real legislative formula how you look at that, but we've started looking at it by population, by personnel, and we'll be providing those materials as well for your consideration. And there were some additional questions the administration asked yesterday that we're getting the information on as well. But we've given you comparisons by population to start with.
So I think while you're looking at this budget, know that you're looking at it by line items. In 3 months, it might not be these line items, but it will be that dollar amount. It will not exceed that dollar amount.
And that's just in Fund 105.
Yes, sir.
255 and 268 are pass-through funds.
Right.
Yeah.
That's correct,
I
255.
would just suggest that the agreement be sent at its earliest
We'll give you we have an
convenience.
executive summary on the front of it as well.
Yeah, collapsing the line items, like you said, a dollar amount, if there's an agreement, it's an agreement. So that's not the issue. The issue that I was alluding to was getting the document for these members to be able to see it and know what they're actually voting upon. Okay? Mr. Nakam?
Yeah, just to follow up, make sure I'm clear. The request would be to do this amendment, but you would hold on to the current structure until this endeavor agreement would be approved, and then at that point, you would be moving it over to the one line item, no?
An amendment won't be necessary because it's going to be by way of the agreement. We're just going to give her the authority to do it after the fact.
Okay,
So we're going to review the budget as it's been presented
okay.
and hopefully approve it as it has been presented with an authorization to Lori by form of an ordinance to be able to collapse that and divide it by 12.
We just need to give you permission.
After you see the agreement, if you,
After, yeah.
Okay, all right, that's all. I just want to be clear, make sure I understood. Thank you.
I think Ms. Toops, I think I see her question, or it's my concern, is that whatever is done we have to transition into the DA administering a payroll for its 60 employees and coordinate that with the last payments that will be made under the present budget. It's not something that we can, just do within a week, within a day. It has to be transitioned so that we have a starting point. I would hope that would be November 1st. I might also add, I think it was stated, we certainly have no question or no input or no opposition to the 255, which is the criminal non-support division consists of 13 employees with a budget that's provided to the DA's office from the state, and we simply pass those funds on to you. So we are not asking that be changed, and we accept it as it's proposed.
Okay. Well, before we start the review, I'm going to only add to your title of most ethical and most reasonable that your letters have gotten shorter.
Okay. Well, thank you.
At that rate,
I'll be the most brief,
Yeah.
striving to be the most brief lawyer in
There
DA.
you go. Page 125, District Attorney's Office. Again, there is no capital. The Manning page is on 296. Middle of the page. No questions there. Are there any green cards? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we will move to legal/city prosecutor. We're going to begin on page 137.
And I do have a pie chart. Primarily, the pie chart is here to show the funding of the city parish legal department. Other than that, city court would be 100% funded by the city. Together, the budget is $1.4 million for the legal department. 78% of that comes from the city general fund and 22% from the parish general fund. The city prosecutor's budget is $457,000, and that's 100% from the city general fund. There's a reduction of one position in the city prosecutor's office. Sorry about that. I believe they're moving that money to contractual services. That's it.
Mr. Lescott?
Good afternoon.
Nothing to add?
Well, yeah, I'm not sure what information you need. I mean, I can give you
No,
a picture of where we are currently to tell you.
Less is better.
Okay.
Yeah, less is better. Just like to give the opportunity, sometimes department heads want to share a little bit more. Something has changed at the last moment or something, just an opportunity. But if there's nothing, we're going to begin on 137 with the operating expenses. As you could see, there's a division of legal department, and then immediately following that, city prosecutor. You could review this entire page. Mr. Conk?
Referencing what Lori just mentioned about the contractual services, is that indeed replacing an employee reduction? The line item 70907-0 contractual services shows 154,000. Up from 99.
I think that's the result of, Laurie, is that the result of the position that was vacated? Those funds were then moved to contractual services in anticipation of?
Hiring a part-time assistant city prosecutor
Right.
through contractual services and not through payroll.
Will it be a wash?
It's pretty close to a wash when you look at their budget.
I believe the intention was for it to be at a wash or below.
It's slight reduction.
Yeah.
Good, thank you.
If you're done on 137, there is no capital. We're going to go to the Manning table on 299. You're going to see legal department, city prosecutor. You notice the reduction. Okay, seems like there are no questions. Any green cards? Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
And now move to finance. Going to be on page 139.
Funding for the Office of Finance and Management comes from several places. Often you hear me talk about us being owning our own insurance company. That is the lion's share of the Office of Finance and Management's $31 million budget. About $27 million is for the group insurance and the risk management self-insurance fund. $3.6 million comes from the city general fund and about $800,000 from the parish general fund. In total, this budget is a slight decrease from last year's proposed budget of about 1.3%. There is a requested increase in strength of 2 positions. One of them is a reinstatement of a cut made back in 2013, and another one is a new position. That's it.
That reinstallation of that cut, what was that about? What work has increased?
That's in purchasing. Melinda can tell you a little bit about the history. That was, remember when we cut like 70-something positions? That was one of the ones we cut. We're seeing that we're having to reinstate it, and I think she can go over the details.
I was just wondering, you cut it, bring it back.
Well, we didn't want it cut. It was one of those forced cuts whenever we had the reduction because of the city general fund expenditures. We've had a temporary person in that position for a couple of years.
And when it was cut, it was vacant at the time.
It was vacant, yeah. We were trying to fill it, but it was vacant, so it got snatched.
Got whacked. Okay. All right. We're going to begin on page 139. 139, Chief Financial Officer. Bottom of 139, top of 140. Got some promotional costs in there, Mr. Kessler.
Yeah, I noticed that.
140, budget management. 140, budget management. Bottom of 140, purchasing property management. Now we're going to be going into general accounts. Of course, as she indicated, these are just a number of the accounts that basically they managed. So we're going to go a page at a time. 141. As you notice, some of these line items have been covered in other of these smaller departments' issues that finance takes care of. Excuse me? Page, yes, ma'am. Ms. Hebert?
I'm looking at line item 101-0170-74000-210. Someone can explain what that line item is? Looks new.
That, I believe, was discussed in the Mayor President's budget message. That is the development of a new Lafayette Development and Revitalization Loan Fund.
Mayor, can you refresh my memory, I don't remember that part. I know
Sure.
you probably said it, I just don't remember.
Yeah.
There's been so many other numbers since then.
No, that's fine. In the original budget presentation, we talked about the need for development in areas of Lafayette that need some incentive, and we felt like establishing this loan program would make sense, that developers could tap into in the way of some small portion of what the overall development needs, but it would give them some, what they referred to as patient capital, some long-term capital, to help them make the decision to invest in these areas that need help.
Perfect. Thanks for refreshing my memory. That's all I have, Chairman.
Is your memory fresh now? Your memory is fresh now?
It is now.
Oh, yeah, just keep living. Page 142.
Mr. Chairman, on that same topic that Mrs. Abear just questioned, I would like to ask if you would consider a general amendment to change the title of the account listed at the bottom of this page.
To revolving loan fund?
It should say Reserve Loan Receivable. And that is the corresponding entry to the entry that Mrs. Abear pointed out on the opposite page.
There's a request to amend the title of line item 2100170775990-0 from Reserve Loan to Communications to Reserve Loan Receivable. That is being offered by Member Kunk. Are there any objections to this amendment? Seeing none, that'll go forward as a general amendment.
Thank you, sir.
Page 143. One 144. Mr. Lewis?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm looking at 70903, election expense. And I know it's on the previous page, it was there as well. Can you explain it to me?
Yes, sir. As I spoke earlier about the different dedicated special revenue funds and the different dedicated taxes, they're each in an individual fund. So you will see election expense based on what we expect to happen next year, depending upon what fund it's in. So the tax goes into a specific fund, and if it's the drainage fund, or in this case, it is the courthouse complex and adult correctional center, each fund will pay a portion of the election expense costs. If they are all on the same ballot, then we take the cost for that election and divide it up amongst the dedicated millages that are on that ballot.
Sounds good, I don't understand, but it's okay.
So if I have the jail and the courthouse on a ballot, then one of them doesn't bear the burden for the full election cost. It's split in half.
Good. Mr. Conk,
Without my having to pull out the calculator, how much are we setting aside for the election for all of the components?
I don't have that total, but we can get it for you.
Would you please?
Yes.
Thank you.
yes, indeed. I tell you what, you told y'all, budget ends is the best time of year.
And these are estimates. Sometimes, we have to come back to you based on what happens during the year. There may be a mid-year budget amendment, and it'll also depend upon what else is on the ballot. Oftentimes, there's something statewide on the ballot that reduces our cost. I'd rather come back and give you the correct total. I'm not sure that it's only 100, that it's 150. I'll come back and give you a list, and it'll give you each fund and the amount.
Thank you.
145. $146.